We've all heard the saying, you are what you eat. But what if your food choices say more about your social standing than your nutritional intake? In this video, we're going to explore the fascinating world of food and identity. There's a lot to uncover, so let's get to it. Food is a powerful tool that individuals and cultures use to express and maintain their identities. This occurs in a number of ways. Food traditions are often passed down through the generations, preserving cultural heritage and knowledge. This can include specific recipes, preparation methods, and even the tools used for cooking. By continuing these traditions, individuals connect with their ancestors and maintain a sense of cultural continuity. Think about how in Italy the tradition of making fresh pasta by hand is passed down through the generations. Grandmothers teach their daughters and granddaughters the techniques and recipes, preserving a culinary heritage that connects families and communities. Certain foods can hold symbolic meaning within a culture. For example, in Christianity, bread represents the body of Christ in the Eucharist, while in Judaism, challah bread is a staple of the Sabbath and holiday meals, symbolizing the manna that sustained the Israelites in the desert. The ritualized consumption and symbolic associations create a sense of shared identity and belonging among members of the culture. This shared identity often differentiates cultures from one another, as each culture has its own unique cuisine characterized by specific ingredients, flavors, and culinary techniques. These distinct cuisines often foster a sense of pride and identity among its members. Japanese cuisine, for example, is renowned for its emphasis on fresh seasonal ingredients, artistic preparation, and unique flavors like umami. These characteristics distinguish Japanese cuisine from other culinary traditions and contribute to a strong sense of national identity. Shared meals and food rituals play a crucial role in strengthening social bonds within a community. Whether it's a family gathering for a holiday feast or a community potluck, these events create a sense of togetherness that reinforce cultural identity through shared experiences and memories. In many cultures, communal meals are a central part of social life. Dishes like tangine in Morocco or injera in Ethiopia are often shared from a single platter, fostering a sense of togetherness and community. In others, certain holidays are closely associated with the consumption of specific foods. Think of turkey and pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, eating dates to break the fast for Ramadan, or dumplings and spring rolls traditionally eaten for Chinese New Year. Finally, food choices can reflect an individual or culture's values and beliefs. For example, a vegetarian diet might be associated with values of compassion or environmentalism, while a diet rich in meat might be associated with ideas of strength and prosperity. In India, for example, vegetarianism is widely practiced due to religious and cultural beliefs around the sanctity of animal life. This dietary choice reflects a deep respect for nature and nonviolence, core values in many Indian religions and philosophies. By making food choices that align with their values, individuals express their cultural identity and reinforce their sense of belonging. But now I want to explore the ways in which food is tied to individual social identity, and how the food we eat, how we prepare it, and whom we share it with can significantly influence and reflect our identities. We see this across a variety of multiple areas, many of which we explore in greater detail in other videos. But for now, I want to briefly touch on the ways in which our food is tied to our social class, gender, ethnic, religious, and national identities. And let's start with social class. The relationship between food and class is deeply rooted and complex. Food choices, consumption patterns, and even the knowledge and discourse around food can often reflect and reinforce socioeconomic disparities. Access to fresh, healthy, and diverse foods is often determined by socioeconomic status. Individuals with higher incomes generally have greater access to a wider variety of foods, including organic produce, specialty items, and high-quality proteins. In contrast, lower-income individuals may face more limited options due to financial constraints, geographic barriers, or lack of access to supermarkets. In many urban areas, low-income neighborhoods often lack access to supermarkets and fresh produce, leading to the prevalence of convenience stores and fast food restaurants. This phenomenon, known as food deserts, can limit the healthy food options available and contribute to higher rates of obesity and chronic diseases among low-income populations. Socioeconomic status can significantly influence dietary patterns. Studies have shown that individuals with lower socioeconomic status are more likely to consume diets high in processed foods, sugary drinks, and unhealthy fats. By contrast, individuals with higher socioeconomic status are more likely to consume diets rich in fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins, which are all associated with better health outcomes. This is partly due to the affordability and convenience of these options, but also because of limited access to fresh produce and healthy cooking facilities. For example, a single mother working multiple jobs might be forced to rely on fast food to feed her family due to time constraints and budget limitations. Culinary knowledge and skills are also linked to social class. Individuals with higher incomes may have more opportunity to learn about a wider variety of cuisines, cooking techniques, and food preparation methods through cooking classes, travel, or exposure to diverse culinary experiences. This knowledge can be seen as a form of cultural capital that reinforces social distinctions. Certain foods can even be viewed as status symbols, signifying wealth, taste, and sophistication. Gourmet ingredients, fine dining experiences, and knowledge of obscure or trendy foods can be used as symbols of affluence to display social status and differentiate oneself from others. This phenomenon can be seen in the rise of food media, celebrity chefs, and exclusive culinary events. Sometimes food themselves are framed as rich or poor foods. Rare delicacies like truffles and caviar, exotic fruits like durian or mangosteen, or high-quality cuts of meat like Wagyu beef are inherently expensive due to their limited availability and high costs of production. As a result, the consumption of these items becomes a status symbol and a marker of high socioeconomic standing. By contrast, organ meats or offal, or tough cuts of meat requiring long cooking times were traditionally viewed as poor people's food. Interestingly, these can change over time. Celebrity chef Bobby Flay, for example, popularized the skirt steak, causing demand for what was historically a cheap cut of meat requiring longer cooking times to skyrocket, and with it, so too did the cost of the cut. Similarly, as global demand for quinoa spiked in the early 2000s, the price for what had historically been a staple tripled, placing it outside the reach of the poor Andean farmers who had cultivated the crop for generations. Finally, the presence of food insecurity, the lack of reliable access to affordable, nutritious food, is a significant issue that disproportionately affects low-income individuals and communities. Food insecurity not only impacts physical health, but also contributes to social stigma and marginalization. A family struggling to make ends meet might rely on food banks or government assistance programs to put food on the table. But the experience of food insecurity can be stigmatizing and isolating, leading to feelings of shame and inadequacy. It also reinforces the social divide between those who have access to abundant food and those who struggle to meet their basic nutritional needs. Food practices and expectations are deeply intertwined with gender in cultures around the world. The gendering manifests itself in multiple ways. In many societies, there is a historical and cultural division of labor where men are associated with activities like hunting, fishing, and farming, while women are often responsible for gathering, gardening, and small-scale animal husbandry. These traditional roles can still influence perceptions of what is considered masculine or feminine food production. In preparing food, women are often expected to be the primary cooks in the household, responsible for meal planning, grocery shopping, and preparation of daily meals for the family. This expectation is reinforced by cultural norms, media portrayals, and even kitchen design. Men, on the other hand, may be associated with grilling or outdoor cooking, which is often framed as a more masculine activity. Examples of this abound. In many cultures, women are traditionally expected to serve the men and children first, ensuring they are well fed before taking a portion of food for themselves, reinforcing the notion of women as caregivers and prioritizing the need of others over their own. At most holidays, women are frequently tasked with the bulk of holiday meal preparation, from planning the menu and shopping for ingredients to cooking and serving the entire feast, perpetuating the idea that women are responsible for creating and maintaining familial traditions through food. Commercials for kitchen appliances, cookware, and food products often depict women as primary users, reinforcing the notion that cooking is a female domain. Men, on the other hand, are often portrayed grilling or barbecuing outdoors, suggesting a more recreational or occasional role in food preparation. And in the design of the kitchen, the lower counter heights and appliance placement that catered to women's average height and kitchen color schemes and decor have tended to lean towards feminine aesthetics like pastels, florals, and delicate patterns, all reinforcing subtly the idea that the kitchen is a woman's domain. Gendered expectations can also influence how people eat and what they're expected to eat. For example, men may be encouraged to eat larger portions or consume more meat, while women may be pressured to eat smaller portions or choose lighter options like salads and yogurts. These expectations often contribute to body image issues and disordered eating patterns. This even gives rise to the gendering of food items themselves, as certain foods can be associated with specific genders. For example, food items like salads, fruits, yogurts, chocolate, wine are often targeted towards women, while steaks, burgers, beer, dark spirits like whiskey, scotch, and bourbon are often targeted towards men. These associations reinforce gender stereotypes and can limit dietary choices for both men and women. Diet culture, the pervasive societal emphasis on thinness and weight loss, is deeply gendered in its messaging, expectations, and impact, disproportionately affecting women and reinforcing harmful gender stereotypes. Diet culture primarily targets women through advertising, media representation, and societal expectations, and bombarding them with messages that equate thinness with beauty, success, and worthiness. This creates pressure to conform to an unrealistic body standard and encourages restrictive dieting behavior. Diet and healthy foods are often disproportionately marketed towards women, emphasizing weight loss and the importance of maintaining a slim figure. In contrast, men are often targeted with ads for indulgent or high-calorie foods, associating them with strength and masculinity. Further, women are often socialized to associate food with comfort and emotional regulation. Think about all the media representations of women indulging in ice cream and chocolate after a breakup. However, diet culture then demonizes this behavior, creating a cycle of guilt and shame around food choices, and often leading to disordered eating patterns and negative relationships with food. Meanwhile, men are also affected, albeit in different ways. Men may feel pressure to achieve a muscular and lean physique, leading to unhealthy eating behaviors and excessive exercise and disordered eating. The rise of bigorexia, or muscle dysmorphia among men, is a testament to the impact of diet culture on male body image. In recent years, though, there's been a growing movement to challenge traditional gender roles in food. More men are taking an active role in cooking and meal preparation, while women are exploring careers in professional kitchens and culinary leadership. This shift is gradually changing societal expectations around food and gender. And we see slower movement taking place around body shaming and normalizing diverse body types. Nevertheless, our food system remains incredibly gendered. Food is not merely a matter of sustenance, but is a complex arena where cultural identity, power dynamics, and historical legacies intersect. As such, food is deeply intertwined with the politics of race and ethnicity. Throughout history, the dominant cultures have often used food to stereotype and other racial and ethnic minorities. This is evident in the association of certain foods with specific groups, often perpetuating harmful stereotypes. For example, associating fried chicken and watermelon with African Americans or tacos and burritos with Mexican Americans. In grocery stores, ethnic foods are often grouped together in a single aisle, often labeled as ethnic or international foods. This practice, while seemingly convenient for some shoppers, raises several concerns around the problematic implications. By segregating certain foods as ethnic, it implies that these foods are somehow foreign or exotic and different from the normal or mainstream American diet. This can perpetuate stereotypes around certain cultures and their cuisines, and creates a sense of exclusion by making shoppers from those cultures feel like their food is not fully integrated into American society, potentially leading to feelings of marginalization or otherness. The ethnic food aisle also lumps together a vast array of diverse cuisines under a single label, potentially misrepresenting or oversimplifying the culinary traditions of different countries and regions. And as David Chang reminds us, we see this in restaurants too, in a form of culinary hierarchy where French, Italian, and New American restaurants are seen as fine dining, warranting high prices, while Chinese, Indian, Mexican, Ethiopian, and other ethnic restaurants are all cast as cheap casual fare. There's a growing pushback against this deeply ingrained perception, especially in California, with chefs like Claudette Zepeda at El Jardin or Ray Garcia at Taco Maria leading the charge. Chef Ray Garcia, whose restaurants Broken Spanish and Taco Maria captured a variety of accolades, said in an interview that he's constantly battling with the attitude that Mexican food should be cheap, saying in a 2019 interview for the Rob Report that people see Spanish words or names for Mexican dishes and they assign value for what you pay for a tamale from the lady around the corner instead of what you pay for 4 ounces of grass-fed lamb, in-season mushrooms, corn, and someone rolling the tamales fresh. In the same article, Chef Claudette Zepeda, the executive chef of the award-winning El Jardin, said, "We're more than just tacos, burritos, chips, and salsa. And I don't want to dumb down what we do for the sake of sales. Our food is older than French food. It's just that we were a third world country, so it's not put on that level." The flip side of this culinary hierarchy is the problem of cultural appropriation, or the adoption of culinary traditions from marginalized communities by dominant cultures without proper acknowledgement or respect. This often involves commercializing and profiting from ethnic foods while ignoring the cultural context and contributions of the original creators. We explore the problem of cultural appropriation and the related question of authenticity in another video. Systemic racism and discrimination have created significant disparities in access to healthy and affordable food, leading to food insecurity. Communities of color are disproportionately affected by food deserts, limited access to grocery stores, and higher rates of food insecurity. This unequal access reinforces racial and ethnic inequalities in health outcomes and highlights the connection between food and health justice. It's well known, for example, that Native American communities often experience higher rates of diabetes due in part to the disruption of traditional diets, reliance on government-issued food commodities, and the emergence of food deserts in many tribal reservations. Food also plays a crucial role in the immigrant experience, serving as an important connection between migrants and their homelands, helping to preserve cultural identity, and sometimes even providing a means of economic empowerment. Immigrant-owned restaurants and food businesses not only introduce new flavors and cuisines, but contribute to the economic and cultural fabric of their new communities. Indeed, food is sometimes used to even promote national identity and pride. This can be seen in the rise of culinary nationalism, where governments and organizations use food to promote specific national or ethnic identity. The government of Thailand's Thai Select program, for example, certifies restaurants worldwide that serve authentic Thai cuisine, promoting Thai culinary heritage and boosting the country's tourism industry, helping to create a sense of national pride around Thai food and maintaining its unique identity on the global stage. Similarly, the Peruvian government's promotion of superfoods, native ingredients like quinoa, maca, and sacha inchi, emphasize their nutritional value and cultural significance, leading to international recognition of Peruvian cuisine and a renewed sense of pride in its culinary heritage. Other countries have sought to use their cuisine to engage in a form of culinary diplomacy. One of the best examples of this is the Korean government's promotion of kimchi globally through cultural events, cooking demonstrations, and even sending kimchi to disaster-stricken areas as a form of humanitarian aid. This culinary diplomacy has increased awareness of Korean food and culture, aiming to foster positive relationships with other countries. Within the United States, food has often been used as a tool of resistance and empowerment by marginalized communities. By reclaiming their culinary traditions, celebrating their unique foodways, and supporting community-based initiatives, marginalized groups can challenge stereotypes and assert their cultural identity. Perhaps the most well-known example of this was the Black Panther Party's Free Breakfast for Children program in the 1960s, which was a form of community activism addressing hunger and promoting social justice. Today, food justice and the food sovereignty movements in the United States and around the world have emerged to challenge the racial and ethnic disparities in the food system. Food justice advocates for equitable access to healthy foods, supports sustainable agricultural practices, and challenges the corporate control of food production and distribution. Food sovereignty goes even further, aiming to reclaim control of the food system and preserve indigenous cultural heritage. Both of these movements highlight the challenges arising from the racialization of food. Finally, we can also think about the ways in which food and religious identity are deeply intertwined, with food playing a central role in reinforcing and sometimes even defining religious beliefs and practices. Many religions have specific dietary laws and restrictions that govern what foods are permissible or forbidden. These laws can be based on religious texts, cultural traditions, or health concerns. Examples abound. Practicing Muslims often abide by halal dietary restrictions that prohibit the consumption of pork, alcohol, and blood. Judaism has kosher dietary laws that dictate that certain types of animals can or cannot be eaten, how they must be slaughtered, and mandate the separation of meat and dairy. Many Hindus are vegetarian, abstaining from meat due to the principle of ahimsa or nonviolence, and some Buddhists follow vegetarian or vegan diets based on the principle of compassion for all living beings. We could go on and on. Food often plays a central role in religious rituals and celebrations, with special foods prepared and consumed during festivals, holidays, and ceremonies to mark significant events and reinforce religious identity. At Christmas, Christians often eat meals including symbolic foods like roast turkey, ham, and fruitcake, while Easter dinner often includes lamb. In Judaism, the Seder meal during Passover includes symbolic foods like matzah, an unleavened bread, and bitter herbs. The Muslim festival of Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of Ramadan, is normally celebrated with special dishes like biryani, kebabs, and sweets. and Sikhs offer free meals called langar to all visitors to temples, symbolizing their commitment to equality, community, and selfless service. Certain foods hold symbolic meaning within religious traditions, often representing spiritual concepts, historical events, or the relationship between humans and the divine. In Christianity, bread and wine symbolize the body and blood of Christ in the Eucharist. In Islam, breaking the fast of Ramadan with dates is a tradition based on the Prophet Muhammad's practice. And in Hinduism, a sacred food offering called a prasad is believed to be blessed by the gods and is consumed as a way to receive divine grace. These shared meals and food rituals create a sense of community and belonging among members of the religious group. Potlucks, communal feasts, and breaking bread together strengthen the social bonds, and as a result, religious ceremonies and gatherings often involve shared meals, reinforcing community ties and religious identity. Examples include parish potlucks in Christian churches and communal iftars during Ramadan. Many religions also incorporate fasting or abstinence from food as a way to practice self-discipline, purify the body, or focus on spiritual matters. These practices can be seen as a form of devotion and as a way to deepen one's commitment to the faith. During Ramadan, Muslims abstain from food and drink from dawn till dusk. This period of fasting is meant to cultivate self-discipline, empathy for the less fortunate, and spiritual reflection. In Judaism, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, is the holiest day in the Jewish calendar and involves a complete fast for 25 hours, with the fast serving as a time for repentance, self-reflection, and seeking forgiveness for sins committed during the year. Many Christians mark Lent, the 40 days leading up to Easter, by abstaining from consuming meat on Fridays or by giving up certain indulgences like sweets or alcohol. Hinduism has numerous fasting traditions associated with different festivals and deities, with fasting seen as a way to purify the body and mind, cultivate self-discipline, and demonstrate devotion to the gods. Some Buddhists practice intermittent fasting, abstaining from food after noon as a way to promote mindfulness and reduce attachment to sensual pleasures. And in Jainism, adherents practice strict veganism and observe regular fasts to purify the soul, practice nonviolence towards all living beings, and achieve spiritual liberation. Food also plays a central role in some religious stories, often serving to convey moral or ethical lessons. The New Testament includes stories of Jesus multiplying 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish to feed a large crowd gathered to hear him preach. The story symbolically conveys a powerful and inspiring narrative for Christians, reminding them of God's abundant love, provision, and the importance of sharing and compassion. Similarly, during their exodus from Egypt, the Torah says that Israelites were provided with manna from heaven, symbolizing God's provision and care for his people, even in times of hardship. And the Quran describes paradise as a place of abundance, with rivers of milk and honey and plentiful fruits awaiting adherents in the afterlife. Thus, again, we see that food is not just a source of nourishment, it's a powerful tool for expressing and reinforcing religious identity. So, across all these areas, food is intricately tied to individual identity in ways that far exceed its mere role as nutrition and sustenance. And this list is just a beginning. I'm sure I've missed lots of examples, so please feel free to leave your suggestions for other areas in the comments section below. But that's it for now. As always, thanks for watching.